Welcome to the Switchblade Sisters Social Club, a true crime podcast where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee.
And I'm Rhonda, and together we are the Sake Sisters. For more information, check out our website at www.switchbladesisterssocialclub.com or find us on Instagram and Facebook at Switchblade Sisters Social Club.
Thanks for listening. Hi! Welcome back. This is episode 4 of Switchblade Sisters Social Club, where two sisters exploit their worst fears for your entertainment. You're welcome. I'm Dee, and you are.
And I'm Rhonda. Hi.
You
need to do that again?
No. Guess what? Today we have a surprise guest.
I know. I'm so excited.
It's a surprise to you. I love surprising you with guests. It's so fun, isn't it?
I love it too. I love it too because I know it's going to be somebody good.
I know, because like...
Do I know this person?
Yeah. It's just... Okay. I feel like it's taken me 40 years, well, 38 years, as long as you've been alive, to figure out how to surprise you nicely. And now that I know...
It's a surprise that I like.
I've been doing it loads, and it's so far been very successful. So,
this is my favorite. This is my only kind of good surprise. Yes. Do I want to know who it is? Are you going to tell me now?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not going to tell me when we see them?
No, I'm going to tell you now because I want to introduce them.
Okay, tell me. Oh, okay. Tell me.
So today we are joined by another podcaster, another true crime podcaster. We met her at CrimeCon. She's the one that produced the amazing Colin Sutton heart stickers. Cherry from Crimepedia.
Oh my God, I've been waiting for this day. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. Oh my God, Cherry is a legend.
Absolute legend.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And we got some more female energy. Oh,
yeah, we love that female.
No, we haven't. We had Sarita, the podcast queen.
The podcast queen. So she's going to be joining us in a minute. So excited because her podcast with her co-host Morgan, who's an American guy, absolutely fucking awesome.
I'm so excited to ask Cherry our People's Pulse question at the end. We got a good one today.
Exactly. So
can't wait. Okay.
Yes, in other news, we're ending each episode with the People's Pulse. So keep an eye on our stories where we ask questions and we very random questions, and we will share the results at the end of the show to kind of lighten the mood. So so check out Crimepedia. Cherry is just so fucking, one of these people that's just so effortlessly cool and glam and awesome.
She is. Now I know why you told me I gotta look good for today's episode.
I know. And I was like, I'm gonna try to make myself look nice because we got Cherry on, and I realized I'm wearing a fucking shark jumper. No use trying to be glam when you're wearing a fucking shark jumper.
Oh, we can't. Yeah, I mean, she won't judge us, but
no, she won't. She won't.
We can't match her levels of glamour for sure.
No, we can't. But so on that note, let me bring Cherry in.
Oh, Cherry, you are the best surprise ever.
Did you not know?
No.
Oh.
I didn't tell my sister one of our things, that you were coming on.
Dee likes to surprise me.
Because
that's so exciting.
My sister, we're recording, by the way. We're going straight in there. My sister is really, really difficult to buy presents for, to surprise, because she's just a bit of a control freak and doesn't like things and blah, blah, blah. So
hate surprises, hate it. But this one is amazing. And you know what? Dee said, we've got a surprise guest. And she said, make sure you look good.
Oh,
because we've been podcasting in pajamas over summer.
Oh no, I'm the same usually. Morgan only sees from here up, so it's usually like pajamas underneath and no one sees anything.
That is my current situation, but I did put a little bit of lipstick on. I just didn't have time to backcomb my hair.
You look lovely.
Thank you.
I'm fresh off of
putting the kids to bed.
Luckily my shark is off camera because my jumper has this shark on it.
Oh, I love it.
Cherry, we were talking about how glam you are and what a legend you are.
Oh God, not glam at all, honestly, I promise.
Oh, completely. Oh my God. I remember when I saw you, I was like, she is stunning. Like Jessica
Oh.
Rabbit.
Yeah.
Completely.
Oh my God,
Oh,
bless you.
well, how are
Thank
you
you so
doing,
much.
Cherry? Are you all
Yeah,
right?
really good, thank you. Yeah, really good, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're great. Are you going to CrimeCon Glasgow?
Well, no, I'm not going to be able to now. So I
Oh,
was going to be going, and I was planned to go, but unfortunately, I've got to have an operation, and they've scheduled it for that week.
oh
So
no.
I know, so I'm gutted. I asked if there's like any way that they could change it, and they were like, no, the surgeon
Oh,
that's doing your operation can only do that week.
Oh
So I had,
no.
yeah, unfortunately, I can't make it now. But
oh,
so I'm
well,
gutted because I would love to have been there because I love CrimeCon so much.
well, I will
But
report back
it's
any
one of those
gossip,
things.
and
Yes, tell me all the gossip.
I hope that your
I might
operation
be
goes
there.
well.
I might be there in voice, but I won't be there in physical
Oh,
person. But I'll be there in spirit and
interesting.
everything else. So
Oh,
yeah.
I will also be there in spirit, judging by the last time. All right. Well, so this is the format for today because we have our very special
Okay.
extra guest. And my sister
Aw.
also doesn't know what we're covering today because we like to surprise each other with the topics, Cherry. We have
I
our
love this.
momager. So what we
Okay.
do is we submit our cases to our mother so that she can just
I
make sure the
love
other
it.
person hasn't, yes. So the other, just to make sure the other person hasn't chosen it and researched it in advance, blah, blah, blah. So my sister doesn't know what case we're covering. You don't know what case we're covering either. But I
No.
picked this one because Cherry, you like a little old timey case, don't you?
Oh, I love the old
Oh.
ones. I love the old cases. Yeah, definitely.
We were talking about it because we were like, something about it makes it a little bit easier to talk about. I don't know if it's because it's a little bit more removed and distant. There's not like immediate family members that you are
Mm.
sort of that you see in the
Yeah.
coverage and so forth. I mean, that's not to say the
There was
crimes in
one
this case.
case.
These are fucking awful crimes, FYI. But
Oh,
yeah,
because there was one case that Dee covered last season on Belle Gunness, and because it had happened a long time ago, it didn't. Sounds terrible to say. It didn't depress us in the same way,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
it almost feels like very far removed. So yeah, I like an old timey case.
all
I
right.
think for me, it's like it fascinates me how the police then cover stuff and how their practices are so different to now. And I think that if we use a lot of what we've got now, so many of those cases would be solved. And so it always makes me feel really sad that you've got people that their cases aren't being looked at because they're so old. And I think it's really sad because obviously we have new cases coming up and the old ones just get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And so I think
Yeah.
it needs like a group of people to go, right, we're going to look into these and we're going to use what we've got now to try and look into that case to give that person that this is what happened to them, the end to their story.
And you know,
Well,
that
because
was what
that's
was so
one
interesting
big
about Stephen
difference.
Keogh's book.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the big difference between our podcasts is that you love to cover sort of unsolved cases, missing persons cases, and so
Yeah.
forth. And those ones
Yeah.
they give us like the chills. And so I think
Yeah, they're
we lean towards
frustrating,
the
aren't they?
solved ones. Yeah, exactly. But yeah. Well, this one is going to leave you baffled in terms of how it
Oh,
went
okay.
on for so long. But anyways,
Oh,
I'm going to
Wow.
start. I'm going to set the scene. Okay? Ready?
Okay.
Go for
Ready.
it.
Ready? All right. So once upon a time in Nagyrev, I should say this whole story is
Ooh.
set in Nagyrev, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. So apologies. It's
Where
in
is that?
Hungary. It's
Oh,
Hungarian.
okay.
I've decided to pick one pronunciation and stick with it throughout because that might be less
Stick with
annoying.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very
Nagyrev.
global this season. Last week was
This season.
Brazil. This week is Hungary.
Yep.
This is
So,
exciting.
a small village in Hungary called Nagyrev, and there was something peculiar happening. And let's call this story the Angelmakers of Nagyrev, which sounds really sweet, doesn't it? Does
It
it?
does. I have a feeling not so much.
It's a podcast, remember. So,
Yeah.
a group of crafty and resourceful women discovered that they had a talent. And that was bringing lovebirds together, but also helping their less fortunate husbands onto a better place. These ladies quickly gained a reputation for their mysteriously high widow count. And villagers began to notice that the Grim Reaper seemed to pay much more frequent visits to the husbands of these women, and they couldn't help but wonder if there was something fishy going on. So, do you think there's something fishy going on?
I think their husbands were probably intolerable.
Yeah, I'm thinking the husbands probably did something wrong, but you know.
So, life wasn't a bed of roses for the villagers of Nagyrev at the time. It was between the world wars. They were struggling with poverty, difficult marriages, abusive husbands, raising too many children without sufficient means. So they saw an opportunity in their unfortunate situation, and they devised a peculiar plan, and that was poisoning their husbands with arsenic.
Oh, clever.
Mm. Isn't that the most common way that women kill? Poison?
And isn't it like arsenic? Doesn't it smell like almonds? So it smells quite nice.
Yeah.
It's not a foul smelling. It's not a foul smelling poison either. So it's quite a good one to get away with if you can.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you put it in a nice like tart, you would just think it was a little bit of marzipan or something like that. Exactly. So basically, in this tiny town, there was over 160 mysterious deaths, and rumored to be up to 300 deaths, all around this one group of local wives, with one woman in the center of all of this, and that was the midwife. So, you know, this is still so it's between the wars, so we're mainly talking 1929-ish when it all came out, and a tiny village, so still very sort of traditional, still using a lot of the old ways, very high like Romany population and so forth. So the midwife was the one who was responsible for not just delivering the babies, because there wasn't a doctor in that actual village. There was a doctor that came to the village once a week, but also like a lot of common ailments, you know, you'd go there for herbs and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And this woman was the center of all of it. So my main source is this book. We always quote our sources, The Angelmakers by Patty McCracken. Isn't it a beautiful book? Pretty, isn't it?
That's a really nice, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So love a good book. And the book starts with a quaint little Hungarian folk song, right? Let me just find the. All right.
I think the midwife is fed up with no contraception and too much work by the sounds of things. She's just like, I'm getting rid of the men, no more babies, I've had enough.
This is the motivation. Where the
a little
idea came
bit of
from.
a moral dilemma with some of these cases, so we'll discuss that when it comes up. But I won't sing it. You know, Cherry, we did this really awful thing to a friend of mine recently, because she sent me a voice note with her singing a Polish nursery rhyme that she had to sing to her daughter. And we played it on the podcast. I won't sing, but here is the lyrics.
We're all still friends. It's okay.
Yeah, she forgave me. If your husband has you seething, belladonna you must feed him. Add some pepper, make it pleasing. He'll be laid out by the evening.
Dark.
Hungarian folk song.
That is brilliant.
So that's how we start.
I'd love to hear the tune.
Imagine if you come home though from work and your wife is like humming that whilst cooking your dinner. You'd be like, "Whoa, not eating tonight, thank you, love."
I'll get a McDonald's, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so this town is 25 miles to the nearest railway station, and it's about 60 miles from Budapest, the capital of Hungary. So it's not that far, but remember, we're talking like the 20s, so it would have been, you know, a more significant journey. And we're actually starting in 1916.
Wow.
I'm going to be quoting a guy called Jack McCormick occasionally. He was a New York Times reporter who was one of the first to arrive at the scene and start reporting on it when the case started coming out. And he says, the boldness and the utter callousness with which they carried out their criminal activities seems to have been equaled only by the stupidity of the men who were their victims.
Wow. Whose side was he on?
Yeah, I don't know. And I want to say we don't approve of victim blaming. But that was
No.
Jack McCormick's quote, not ours. But you do have to wonder why it took so long for these villagers to realize what the hell was going on. Right, so I'm going to take you back to the 16th of August, 1916. Anna is one of the residents of Nagyrev, and she's in labor. And the midwife, Auntie Susie is the key player here, was with her. Her husband, Anna's husband, Louis, was completely fucking wasted. He was coming in and out. He was abusing her physically, verbally, etc. And, you know, it's just a very dire situation. A little note on Aunt Susie. Apparently, if you're the midwife, you are given a salary by the village and also your house. She's not meant to charge the poorest people for her services, but she often got compensated and quite often would just help herself to things around the house. So, you know. And again, like I said, the doctor was quite far away. He only came once a week to the town. So she was kind of like the interim doctor almost. Susie's husband had left her, Aunt Susie. She was a...
Oh, she's bitter.
Yeah, apparently she didn't care, but did she? I don't know. She lived with her eldest daughter and her eldest daughter's husband and 2 kids in this house provided for by the village. So back to Anna and her husband, Louis, or Louis. Anna's in the throes of childbirth. Louis is known to be a drunk, which is saying a lot at the time in a place where people started on brandy straight after breakfast. So to be called an alcoholic in that context means you're really fucking bad. He comes back during the labor drunk. He's abusing Anna verbally for falling pregnant again. They already have kids. They're poor.
Oh, because it's all her fault.
Yeah, you know how you
Did
can
it on her
have
own.
this miraculous conception. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just really sad because she's in fucking labor. What's she meant to do about it at this point, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, Aunt Susie asks Anna if she wants her to solve her problem, which this is really tough because, like, obviously we don't approve of the killing of the men either, but there were times where Aunt Susie would, let's say, dispose of the newborn babies in a situation where the families were too poor to provide for these new babies. So Aunt Susie was known to carry around a vial of what she called her solution. She would simmer vinegar and then she would drop fly paper into it and simmer it until the vinegar boiled away, leaving behind white arsenic, which is colorless and odorless. So don't know whether... Oh, do you know what's meant to smell like almonds? It's cyanide, isn't it?
Oh, it's cyanide, not arsenic. Okay, cyanide is the one that's... I knew it's the one point. I'll be no good as a poisoner.
Yeah, well, that's something, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, so colorless and odorless, meaning you can add it to anything. So, because Aunt Susie was worried about this baby, supposedly, because Anna was so poor that she didn't have the capacity to breastfeed. She already had kids. She struggled to feed. And basically when she asked Anna once the baby was born, do you want me to take care of this? Do you want me to do something with the baby? Anna said, I don't care. Which is just so sad because, you know, I don't know whether that's depression, postnatal depression. Oh, but yeah, so the baby was...
That's a horrible situation to be put in when you're you know that you're pregnant and going to give birth to another baby that you can't afford, and it's to the point where you're so poor that you can't feed your children that you've already got. It
I
must
know.
be horrific as a mother to have to make that decision. It must be
Exactly.
awful.
This is why we should have planned parenthood provisions for everyone right from the start. Anyways, so yeah, do you want to hear the backstory of Anna and Lewis?
Yes.
This couple?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fucking awful. Lewis
Oh.
was actually married. Well, I mean, we already know it's not a happy marriage, right?
Yeah.
Lewis was actually married when he raped Anna and impregnated her with their first child. At some point, his wife left him, possibly because he's a fucking dirty rapist.
Yeah.
Lewis needed a substitute to help him run his pub and look after his elderly parents. So even though he previously denied that Anna's kid was his, he decides to marry her. So, and obviously
What a great guy he is.
Yeah, I know. So noble.
Yeah.
She'd always been terrified of him, but obviously he left her with not very many options because she was a single mom who had been dirtied by this act. In quotation marks, I'm doing for the podcast listeners, because obviously it's him that's disgusting, not her. Yeah, so she didn't really have very many options. Right, so that's their backstory. That's their sad little backstory, but their story is very, very common in this village. It's really, really difficult time, again, between the wars, you know, in a small village in Hungary. So let's go on to Petra. Petra is Aunt Susie's neighbor. She lived with her husband, who had been a soldier, and he was a prisoner of war, and he returned from World War I with loads of injuries and what we probably diagnose now as something like PTSD. So definitely mentally disturbed by what he saw, did, what happened to him, etc. during the war. Not fucking surprised. So he's come back, he's in chronic pain, and he's got insomnia. And he's just very, very difficult to live with and to take care of. So Petra, Aunt Susie, did assist Petra by giving some of her, again in quotation marks, solution to Stephen. But it's unclear whether Petra knew about this. So Petra would go to Aunt Susie for, you know, medicines to help him with his chronic pain, with his sleep, you know, his lack of sleep and so forth. So it's not exactly clear whether Petra said, can you help me permanently take care of my husband? But Aunt Susie wanted to line Petra up to marry her own divorced son because Petra was from a wealthy family. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it's possible Aunt Susie acted off her own initiative there.
Yeah.
But basically, suddenly Petra is a widow. Now let's go on to Maria. This is basically a bunch of anecdotes of women killing their husbands. So,
but were they aware that they were like?
Yeah, that's right.
Petra.
Well, Petra, we're not sure.
Okay.
We're not sure. We're not sure if Aunt Susie was doing this because she wanted a new wife for her son. But the others were very aware. She had
arsenic.
It was an open secret, you know, that you would go to this midwife for.
And is arsenic like a one and done job?
No, it doesn't seem like it always is. So some of them you'll see took longer than others. Right? Okay. So Maria divorced her husband, Alex Sr., and was basically chased out of the village. I think there was some adultery involved there. She went to Budapest and hid out there for a while. And then she decided to move back to Nagyrev because she had trapped a new man, Michael, who was an influential man of the village. And she was really, really excited to move back and reclaim her position as the rightful queen of the village in her eyes. I imagine her very fancy. Who is she like? I imagine her like our aunt, Rhonda. That doesn't help you, Cherry. But who would Cherry know that's like our aunt? Very grand diva.
You remember when we did Gucci? The Gucci wife.
Yeah, the Gucci.
The Gucci wife. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So she thinks she's like like I said, the queen of the village, right?
Yeah.
She's now managed to trap this influential guy. So she's moving back. The Michael is waiting for her at the station with her son, Alex Jr., who she hasn't seen in 20 years.
Oh, okay.
I know. He was quite sickly as a child, which, you know, would have been quite a difficult burden, to be fair, at that time, and in a poor village, and where probably a lot of work was revolved around manual labor and so forth. That still doesn't feel like an excuse to abandon your kid for 20 years. Especially because he got syphilis from his mum, who was an asymptomatic carrier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Maria was not that keen to see him, but she was super excited about seeing her new beau, Michael. Turns out that Maria was actually still married to a second husband in Budapest, who she abandoned to return home as soon as Michael said he wanted to be with her. So we just need to remember Maria. Maria and Aunt Susie used to be friends, but they're kind of like frenemies at this point, right? Aunt Susie is still trying to get Petra to marry her son after her husband's death/murder. But Petra is reluctant. So, sorry, the fly on my...
Well, yeah, why would you want to marry into the family where you think they bumped off your husband? That
Even
would be
if
a little
you-
bit worrying.
Even if you commissioned her to bump off your husband, you still wouldn't want to marry into that, would you? It's like if you
No.
hired a hitman, you're not going to marry into
Yeah.
that hitman's family, are you?
You just wouldn't want to go
Absolutely
around
not.
for dinner, would you?
No.
Or accept
No.
a drink.
No.
Exactly. But Aunt Susie starts stealing from Petra and her wealthy family as punishment. So it's just a bit shit, isn't it? Right. Aunt Susie is also, I don't know whether this is her trying to be kind, but like having a really, really warped moral compass, right? But she's got an eye on Alex Jr., Maria's son, because she thinks, in quotation marks, he has half a life. You know, like he's nothing but a problem to be solved, you know, because he's sickly, he's not physically able or whatever. Aunt Susie also is a bit resentful towards her frenemy Maria for starting a relationship with Michael, who was actually Aunt Susie's old lover.
Oh, scorned woman.
This is like a little bit like Real Housewives of Nagyrev, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cherry, do you know that we've got a spin-off season at the moment? Because at the end of every episode, we're always like, why are we doing this? Because, you know, you finish a case and you're like fucking depressed. And Rhonda's like, why don't we start a podcast about Real Housewives? And it's because I had never seen any. So now we have a spin-off season where I get drunk and watch Real Housewives of New Jersey on my own.
I love that. That
and
is
you can
brilliant.
watch Dee's commentary on it, dissecting the show.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
I get
I'm gonna have to
really
check that out.
I get really invested and really, I really care. But now we found the perfect way, and you're going to be involved in it today, the perfect way to end our episodes. And that is with what we now call the People's Pulse. So each week we've been asking our listeners a question, and then we share the answers, but it's been fucking... We had one about weird crushes. What was last week, Rhonda?
What was last week?
Oh, most embarrassing story.
Oh, dumbest thing we ever did.
Dumbest thing we ever did. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, so we can end episodes on a high.
Yeah. That's really good. See, on our podcast, we do Dumb Criminal. So at the end of the episode, like you say, you feel a bit like, oh, so we try and like lighten it up and do just like the dumbest criminals and how they got caught doing stupid things. And it's always really fun. It makes you sort of, it makes it a bit better at the end of the episode.
You got it, because otherwise season to work it out.
It took us a season, No, because otherwise you're like, and those are all the murders. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And
bye then. Yeah.
And also, we get affected, don't we? Like, you don't want to end on a low and then end the Zoom call, and you're like, all right, I'll just
so we
go
can't
cry
wait to
myself
ask
to
you the
sleep.
question at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
No prep time, though. It's no prep time.
No.
Well, we can always give her a couple of moments to think about it while we read some of our listeners.
We'll do that.
Okay.
All right. So Aunt Susie is looking at Alex Jr., the one who has been sort of badly affected physically because of his syphilis. And she also just really doesn't like Maria, her frenemy. Suddenly, so remember Maria's first husband, Alex Sr., who was also Nagyrev. Suddenly, this healthy 44-year-old falls over and dies. So Aunt Susie says the cause of the death is apoplexy, which I didn't Google, but natural causes, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. Maria gets Alex Jr. a job in Budapest. She wants him out of the way. Like, let me start my new life with my new beau. But he lasts about 5 minutes before he comes back because he's not physically able really
and he's on his
to hold
own. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, just to give you a little context, right? So this is between the wars. During World War I, World War I took about 3.5 million men to war. And then immediately after World War I, there was the Spanish flu outbreak, which claimed another 2 million lives in Hungary alone.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a real shortage of men as well, which is just bonkers. But also, I think part of the reason why a lot of these activities, in quotation marks, went kind of unnoticed because it was just such a horrendous hard time with people fucking dying left, right, and center anyways. Yeah. So Alex Jr. comes back from Budapest soon after because he wasn't suited to the job. He had these physical disabilities, etc., etc. And just skip over a few things. And so, yeah, Maria is basically a bit fed up with having this burden of a son ruining her new life. And so her and Aunt Susie decide to slowly poison Alex Jr. to death.
Oh, no.
No.
I don't know why they couldn't at least do it fast. I don't
Oh,
know.
that's so awful. Anything that
Yeah.
involves people's kids. I know he's an adult, but still, fucking awful.
Yeah. Right here. It took, sorry, I should read the end of my sentence. It took much longer than expected.
Oh.
So they perhaps didn't mean to prolong this poisoning act. It's just really sad. Apparently his body was so shriveled from the poison. So, like I said, it was an open secret. So the women involved in washing the body for burial, they all mourned really closely around his body during the viewing so that no one could get close enough to see that there was something clearly unnatural with what had happened with his body.
How old was he at the time?
At least 20, because that's how long it had been since she'd seen her. So, yeah. As payment, Maria gave Aunt Susie Alex Jr.'s house, but she just kept on delaying handing the house actually over to Aunt Susie, which pissed Aunt Susie off no end. So, you know, frenemy.
These people.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? So,
because it's the son. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
That's
It's
horrible.
Your own kid.
It's just awful. It's just awful. And I mean, okay, it sounds like he obviously had some physical disabilities, but
still, it sounds like she was just like,
kill
go
someone
away.
because
Yeah. You're just, you're a burden on my life. Just go away. I'll leave you for 20 years and then I'll come back and then I'll get rid of you. You come back in, so I'm going to kill you.
It's just
too much
bonkers.
trouble for me.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Bonkers. So so as I mentioned, there is a local doctor, but he is an hour and a half away by car. And obviously a lot of these people didn't even have a car. He would come about once a week or every 2 weeks to the town. And the local doctor is an elderly drunk man who doesn't really seem to care very much about the village or what happens in it. Pretty much lets Aunt Susie run the show because it means less work for him. But word on the street is that he's going to be replaced soon because he is old and drunk all the time. Aunt Susie's obviously concerned because any new doctor might be like, hang on a minute, why is everyone dying so much? You know? So she's a little bit worried about this. In the meantime, Maria and Michael's relationship is kind of souring. I think we know where this is going.
Oh dear.
And Maria is spending more and more time with a young man called Franklin. One day, Michael comes home drunk. It's pissing down. Franklin lives with them and helps them work on the farm or the land or whatever, but he's sleeping in the shed or the barn or whatever. But this night, it's pissing down. And so Maria lets him sleep in the house. I mean, she's probably fucking him as well, but
yeah,
that's why he's in the house. Michael sees that Franklin's sleeping in the house and absolutely kicks off. I'm guessing because he suspects his wife sleeping around. Maria tells Michael, well, we aren't even really married because she's fucking married to someone in Budapest. That is why. So she's like, I can do what I like. Which is a weird thing to say rather than just saying, well, it's raining, so I let him sleep on the sofa.
Yeah.
Maria seems to like the drama.
Yeah.
Tension.
Oh, Maria,
Yeah.
she's just fucking evil.
Yeah.
But then, weirdly, around a year after this incident, Michael and Maria actually get married.
Okay. Maria's nuts, I think. She's nuts.
Also, how do all these crazy people get married and I'm still single?
Oh.
I'm very recently single, Cherry.
Well, you're very well.
And-
That's That's clever. Stay
Our,
single.
Our DMs already blowing up as soon as the news hits the block that D is single.
I love that.
Oh yeah. He's got game.
Anyone I should check out at CrimeCon, Cherry?
Oh, I like
Cherry, let me tell you that we have
single and
developed
gorgeous.
a fetish for detectives through doing.
Oh.
No, I have a fetish for Colin Sutton.
Yes.
Okay,
who
well, that's
doesn't?
understandable.
Yeah, I love a good retired detective.
And
but
do you know what,
Yeah.
Jerry? Steve Gaskin offered to come on all of these first dates, and I said to Dee, "What a shame
He's
that Steve Gaskin couldn't be the date, but he's happily
That would
married
be
with a
so
beautiful
nice.
family." But yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for Dee. I'm looking for a Steve Gaskin type of guy. I'm looking for a Colin
Yeah.
Sutton type of guy. I'm looking for a Stephen Keogh. I'm looking for a doctor, pilot. I'm looking for like top tier for Dee. That's what I'm looking for Dee.
She deserves top tier.
Yeah, top tier.
No messing around. We want someone
So,
decent.
If we got any detectives listening, doctors,
Yeah.
lawyers, engineers,
I
hit
I
me
kind
up.
of think that I do
I can
too much
filter.
bad shit for an actual like practicing.
Yeah,
law
you need a
enforcement.
retired one. Yeah.
Retired obviously.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, obviously a
yeah.
retired one. I would prefer
Yeah.
them not to be like 60 plus. Also, you know.
Well, I don't know. Some of them.
I mean, I'm okay
60
with
plus
this
are quite
age range.
hot. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh yeah,
Some-
yeah.
Some are quite hot. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
We can
That's
discuss
true.
that later, Cherry, because that
I like it.
is related to our people's pulse of the day.
I'm thinking this is like a spin-off podcast, like Get D Done. That's what we need to do.
Cherry, oh my God, genius. Do you know what I said to Dee a few episodes ago? If we could rebrand as a lifestyle podcast and keep our branding and I wouldn't have to change the social media account, I would do it in a heartbeat. We could
That
just
would
talk
be
about
so
lighthearted
much
shit.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be so much
Well,
fun.
maybe we
I
need to
feel like it'd be
reconsider
less
the
fun for
direction.
me. I feel like it would be a lot of rejection and a lot of like.
Deanna, let's be
depressing.
honest. You have never been rejected. You have
I was
never.
just about to say that. I think it'll be you doing the rejecting, to be fair.
Cherry, Deanna has never been dumped. In all of her 40 years, she's never been dumped.
No. I can see why. She's gorgeous. She's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Thanks.
Who's going to
See-
dump her?
She is
It's
top
because I
tier.
always pick losers, so I have to do the dumping first.
I mean, there's a lot of truth in that, but this time we're going
Okay.
hard.
She needs us to be the radar, doesn't
Mhm.
she? She needs us to
Oh.
find them. We need to find
would
someone
be-
that's not a loser.
I mean, I'm not looking for dating anytime soon. I need to figure my own fucking shit out first. But
Yeah.
this will be the first time. This will be the first time I start dating more in the sort of true crime world with more resources.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
We
like,
can like background check the person to make sure they're not losers and arseholes.
yeah,
Yeah.
narcissists, drug addicts,
Yeah,
fucking.
yeah.
I mean,
Bank
every kind of
robbers.
bad boyfriend, I've had that. So, yeah, it'd be nice to just go out with someone normal.
Someone normal and straight.
Would be nice.
Yeah. I have to have a think. I'm gonna have to have a think of my crime con buddies and think who's hot and single.
Cherry, you get into
And
that phone book
filthy.
tonight and look.
I will. I'm gonna look.
Because
I'm gonna
there
look.
is a shortage. I'm telling
There
you,
is.
there's a shortage of
There is.
good men. The ones that are good, they've been taken. Unfortunately, Colin
Yeah.
Sutton, we tried.
Colin, if you're
Yeah.
looking for
He's a
fifth
lovely wife. Yeah, he has a lovely wife. He has a son though. I wonder if his son's single.
His
no,
son
he's
works
not.
in our local
Yeah.
police station.
Police station.
Karen,
yeah.
you know what? Unfortunately, Colin Sutton's son is not single, but
Shame.
I was joking about how Deanna's gonna like go and cause a scene on the street
Perv on
taking
his-
him
yeah.
just to get arrested by him.
But the problem is, it should also, if she gets invited around to like mum and dad's for dinner, she's going to be perving on his dad, which is probably not the best thing, really.
I literally have one sticker on my laptop at the moment, and it's yours, Cherry, the one that's got the heart Colin Sutton on
I love
it.
Colin Sutton. Yeah.
Oh my
I
God,
love
Cherry,
it.
do you know what? Dee would love like Colin Sutton's life out in the country with the dogs.
Dogs,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, listen, we're looking to wife
We're looking.
Dee
I'm
up.
gonna look. Yeah.
So-
okay.
I don't want to be wifed up.
To be fair, that's something we want to avoid. Divorces are expensive.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. they
I've already
definitely-
done one divorce.
Yeah.
I've gone through one husband and one fiance.
Oh
so-
my God. And do you know what? Speaking of crime, we said it at the time, it's cheaper to bump somebody off than divorce them.
Oh, 100%.
Really,
So-
Yeah.
really.
Much more satisfying too.
So yeah, we're looking for the next Mr. D, but they have to go
Okay.
through my DMs first.
Yeah, I
so
like
that I
this.
can filter through the
Oh, yeah.
chat.
We're
I'll
not-
forward
we're
on
not
any
trusting
potential
my-
candidates to you.
Yeah, we're not trusting my judgment at all because it's terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where were
But
we?
Dee, tell
Oh,
the
yeah.
fucking story because Cherry's got to go at 10. And we
I
still gotta do
know.
people's pulse. Come on, go tell the
Jesus.
story.
All right. Okay. So the new doctor is actually the son of the old doctor. So he's familiar with the town and the blah, blah, blah. I won't bother trying to say his name because I will say it wrong. So the first thing he decides to do, though, is look at all the previous records of births and deaths. I don't know whether this is just because he's taking on a new job and he wants to get familiar with what's going on in the town, or whether he already thinks like it's a bit unusual, these people dying. So he starts asking questions about it because he noticed instantly that there is a really high death rate amongst the men and also amongst the babies, the newborn babies, because remember, that is a service that Aunt Susie also provides. So he starts asking around town about Aunt Susie, and eventually she's brought in for interrogation. The doctor notices that there's a large number of families with only 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl. So he starts suspecting that the midwife is killing off newborns until this sort of quota is, met. She confesses, but she says she's not a baby killer. She's an angel maker.
Oh.
Which is possibly, like, when you hear angel maker, it sounds so cute until you realize it means murderer.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound cute?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So she claims that this is part of her role as a midwife to practice family planning, which again is why it's like we were saying, it's really unfortunate because they didn't have a lot of the services and a lot of the science that we have now in to do that family planning much earlier before it's an actual baby, right? An actual baby that's been born. Susie is charged with 9 counts of abortion based on premature births delivered as stillbirths. 3 judges deemed her guilty, but she appealed and was allowed bail before the next trial. But in the meantime, she's not allowed to practice midwifery. It's a word I had to practice. And a new midwife had to be appointed. So in theory, she could lose her house as well as her job here, because that house is allocated to the midwife of the town. The wise woman midwife role was traditionally passed from grandmother to granddaughter, so it would skip a generation. But Aunt Susie's granddaughter is only 11 at this point. So she is not able to take over. And her daughter does not have the gift, apparently. But her, she has to step in because otherwise they will all lose their house. The new doctor is actually setting up a midwife school to teach, in quotation marks, proper techniques. That's not all gypsy folklore, in his words, But that's not going to be up and running for a while. And then obviously it's going to take a while for people to actually train and graduate from this school. So, and he also insisted that any new midwife would have to train under him, even though he'd never trained in childbirth and never been present at the birth of a child. Just shows like totally different time, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
because he's a
crazy.
doctor.
Yeah.
But I mean, similarly, you wouldn't have a GP be present. I don't know how many GPs would have been present at a birth of a child, right? So, yeah. Aunt Susie is obviously continuing to work illegally. People are still coming to her for their medicines and for her solution. There was a contender, another healer in the area for her job, and this person suddenly goes missing. So lo and behold,
Aunt Susie strikes again.
Aunt Susie still manages to retain her house and her position in society. And like I said, her daughter, who is severely underqualified as a midwife, not that there were any formal qualifications, becomes the unofficial midwife, with Aunt Susie basically tagging along and doing all the work and giving out all the solutions. Right, so Aunt Susie is continuing with her population control, which is as Hitlery as I've made it sound. She claims it benefits the entire community, which is where the moral dilemma comes in, because, you know,
it kind of does.
These people are too poor to have these extra children. Some of the husbands that were bumped off were super abusive in just the most horrendous ways to their wives. I'm not saying it's right to kill them, but you know,
you can understand the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, in the context and the different time and so forth. Meanwhile, the doctor is struggling with the childbirths, and he's losing mothers and babies in childbirth because he doesn't have any experience in it, like I said. So it's the situation's just getting worse and worse, it seems, right? Aunt Susie is still pissed off with her frenemy Maria because she has still not received Alex Jr.'s house after poisoning Alex Jr. to death. And it's been over 2 years since she did that. She's now also got the fear of potentially losing her house if she loses her position as the midwife. So yeah, back to Michael and Maria. Michael is really unhappy with his relationship to Maria. He apparently knew she was trouble right from the start, but was attracted to her. Stop thinking with your dick!
Yeah.
Michael!
Yes. Or just don't marry her and move in with her.
Do you know what I mean? It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Yeah. Michael suspects Maria and Aunt Susie of trying to poison him because they are preparing his food and his brandy, and it's tasting weird, and he's getting weaker and weaker. It's like, what?
Make your own food. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh,
preparing my food.
They're bringing me brandy. I like being served and waited. I'm getting weaker and weaker, and they have a reputation for poisoning people, but
I'm still
taking it all. Yeah. So, yeah, Maria had recently told Aunt Susie that she couldn't bear a third divorce. I mean, granted, a divorce is fucking hard, but like, not feeling that bad for her, you know? Aunt Susie is still on probation for these, not probation, what's the word I'm looking for? She's still waiting for her trial for the abortions. And she hears that Michael suspects they're poisoning him. So Aunt Susie feels like she has to speed up the process, you know, before he voices his... Yeah, exactly. So this is really sad. Do you remember Franklin, who Maria's pretty much having an affair with? The younger guy.
The pool boy?
Yeah, the pool boy, basically, the farmhand. He has a sister called Marcella, and she also works for Michael and Maria. She works in the house, and she's really close to Michael. And she's working as a maid in the house. She loved Michael like a father, so it was really easy to manipulate her into giving him drugs that they claimed would help him.
Oh,
So Michael's getting
no.
suspicious about anything that Maria and Aunt Susie give him. So they get Marcella to do it for them. And they say, look, it's his medicine. He's delusional. He'll only listen to you, blah, blah, blah. So Marcella gives Michael 2 pills as instructed by Aunt Susie, and he was dead within a week.
Oh, no. Bless her.
At Michael's funeral, Maria was seen, she hired a band for the funeral. Don't know if, well, apparently that's not traditional in Hungary either, because it sounds really fucking weird. And she's seen dancing with Franklin at the funeral like it's a wedding.
She's messed up.
I want to know her backstory. I want to know Aunt Susie's backstory. Where the fuck what happened to them?
So, weirdly, Maria's payment to Aunt Susie for killing Michael was again meant to be Alex Jr.'s house. So this is still the house that she was meant to have paid to Aunt Susie already. But Maria's dragging her feet again, and Aunt Susie's getting more and more and more fucking annoyed. So 9 months after Michael's funeral, Maria still has not handed over Alex Jr.'s house to her. And Aunt Susie is still waiting to hear about this fucking trial, right? So January 1923, Susie goes to trial to appeal her guilty charge, and she's actually acquitted of all charges. So she is found not guilty of these abortions and the being responsible for these stillbirths, etc., etc.
Wow.
So she's allowed to be the midwife again. She's not going to lose her home, blah, blah, blah. The doctor is obviously fucking pissed off because he knows there's something suspicious here. There's something weird. And so he wants to launch an investigation, not just into Aunt Susie, but also several of the midwives in the region. But this just doesn't find any traction. And eventually it's just incredibly difficult to kind of get any movement on that. So now we're going to go to Christina, another lady. Christina goes to Aunt Susie one day. She's all beaten and bruised, and it's because her husband attacked her so brutally with a chain and was also stomping on her. So, yeah, awful. So one of her neighbors recommended that Christina goes to see Aunt Susie for a solution. I think we can guess what happened. Aunt Susie also helps a little lady called Rose, whose husband was also abusive. And again, this is just drawing more and more and more attention to Aunt Susie and the suspected, you know, these suspicious deaths, right? Charles, Rose's husband, had complained to neighbors that the food tasted off, and he thought that Rose was trying to poison him. So, you know, drawing more suspicion to Aunt Susie, to the wives. But now we've got an investigation actually starting. There's starting to be more attention to this little town of Nagyrev, and we've got Jack McCormick. Remember, the one who victim blamed the husbands? Who were kind of stupid. He's a New York Times journalist. He's stationed in Vienna, and meant to cover the entire region. So, so he's the one that we've got some sprinkled little quotes around. So we've got Anton Bartel. He's a retired school teacher in a nearby town, and he goes to the gendarmes, the police, to report that Esther Sabo has tried to murder him. He was on his way home drunk, and she called him into her home. She's 28 and he's a retired school teacher, so presumably much older. He taught her when she was a child, but they didn't socialize after that. She was married with 2 young children, and Anton wakes up the next day with extreme agony in his stomach. Now, basically, this is where they get clever, right? This is a bit Hitchcocky. Esther was in the same sewing circle as Mrs. Bartel. And Mrs. Bartel was always complaining about her husband, and Esther was complaining about her husband. So they decided to kill each other's husbands.
Oh, clever. There was an episode like that on, I think, the show called The Missing.
Yeah.
That's clever.
And which one was it? There was one of the Hitchcocks is similar to that. So, Yeah. So they arrest both of them.
You can kind of understand it. I mean, these men sound horrific. So although I don't, it's not, I'm not advocating killing your husband if he's mean, but you can kind of understand why they do. Because there's not, if you divorce, you're the wronged woman, you're the bad, it ends up looking like you're awful. When actually they've been vile to you and beating you and stomping on you.
If you could even get divorced,
Exactly.
financially,
Yeah.
etc.
The easiest thing is to kill the husband.
Yeah, really it is. So all the more reason to make it not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
So that people don't resort to it. Yeah. Yeah, so basically the doctor and a bunch of other suspicious high-ups in the village have managed to get enough attention to this that Aunt Susie is yet again taken into custody, and 12 other females from Nagyrev are also arrested. Graves are exhumed in Nagyrev and 3 other villages. And the prosecutor, Kronberg, spends days and days interrogating and interviewing Aunt Susie, which you can imagine what that would look like. I can't imagine it was just a chat, Several of the women hung themselves.
Oh.
And it's really difficult to tell because the prison system was so bad, right?
Yeah.
It's really difficult to tell. Did these women kill themselves because they were they felt guilty, or because they were depressed and scared because they're in this fucking jail?
Oh, so sad, because their kids now don't have both parents
either. That's right.
So there was all in all there was over 30 arrests made. There were over 50 suspected, but 30 arrests made. They're exhuming loads of bodies. They're testing the bodies. And then anyone that comes up with sort of like little sort of pre-test, they send off to get a full-blown autopsy. A couple of other midwives in the local area are brought in for interrogation as well, because it's thought to be quite a wide practice. Aunt Susie's daughter was charged with multiple cases of abortion and infanticide. You remember she was acting as the midwife for a little bit of time when Aunt Susie was awaiting trial. A bunch of women confessed, but again, you never know how coerced these confessions were. So all in all, there was over 100 women linked to this case in prison alone. This is a prison that only has a capacity of holding 70 people, so you can imagine what the conditions were. Aunt Susie never confessed to anything, and they actually never managed to arrest her because when they went to go and collect her, she poisoned herself.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
That is an unexpected ending to that fucking story. But I mean, I can see why she did, because
me too.
It's a better alternative than be stuck in one of those prisons for the rest of your life.
Forever. That's right.
So 1929, over 162 bodies had been exhumed.
Wow.
And like I said, they suspected over 300 deaths might have been linked to Aunt Susie, of babies, of grown adults, of sick people that needed to, be solved, et cetera, et cetera. In the end, there was 29 women and 2 men that went to trial for the murder. 16 for all of the murders. 16 women were convicted, as were the 2 men. A range of sentences between 1 year, 2 years, life, death, etc. And a whole bunch of people that were convicted or on trial actually committed suicide as well.
So she didn't just, Aunt Susie didn't just kill people. She actually fucking ruined a lot of people's lives.
A lot of people's lives. Now, I'm going to fast forward to London, Ontario, 1986. So this is from 1929 to 86, right? There's a lady called Diane in Canada. She gets done for attempted murder of her ex's new girlfriend. Diane is the great-granddaughter of Aunt Susie, and the
no way.
What?
No
Oh my God, this
way.
really brings into play the nature versus nurture. She
Yeah.
obviously was aware of the whole history, right?
I'm sure. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And a fun fact, I don't know, but Nicolas Sarkozy's grandfather was the vice mayor of the nearby town to Nagyrev, the nearest big city at the time of the trials. So, yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Fucking
Wow.
hell. I mean,
Bonkers, isn't it?
it is. Like, I'm surprised they haven't made a movie about that.
No, that would be a really good film.
Yeah, I mean, that's you couldn't script that kind of story, but also just the
No.
fucking craziness of the great granddaughter.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That in itself would be.
But imagine that. Imagine like doing your family tree and going, oh my God, look, my great great grandmother was a murderer. I know.
A poisoner.
Ah,
I was
I
gonna
really
do.
wonder how
It's like how I cross stitch because my grandmother's cross stitched.
I poison because my grandmother poisons.
I honestly wonder how much that played into the great granddaughter's decision.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, it
she's
would have given her
obviously
ideas, huh?
She obviously wasn't right in the head. And then on top of that, did this also give her ideas?
Okay, no, that fact at the end just
that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, honestly, I really want to see a movie of this fucking story.
Yeah.
That's
it would be
insane.
epic. It would.
I know. Maybe we need to make
really
this.
good. Yeah.
All right. So that is the Angelmakers of Nagyrév.
Yeah, not quite as lovely as it sounds.
No, it really isn't.
Your story is wild. Honestly, I'm just impressed you fucking managed to find these stories.
Yeah, that is really good.
I know. I've been holding on to that one for a while because it's bonkers.
It is really bonkers.
So yeah, Cherry, we're working on a jingle. I sent my sister a whole bunch of options.
Okay.
Did you look at it, Rhonda, or did you just
No, I didn't today. I'm gonna tomorrow.
Well, anyway, so at some point we'll have a really nice transition jingle from the horrendous story into the People's Pulse, which is what we call this section. And we want it to be like, sorry that we gave you nightmares. So let's cheer you up now with some comedy gold. Something like that. I don't know.
I love it.
I'm not the one with the musical background. That's my sister.
So basically, we have got
Carrie, I don't know. I know the question, but I don't know any of the responses. So you and me are in the boat now.
Okay.
So we got a lot of responses to this.
Well, what's the fucking question?
I'm getting on to it. Okay, so basically, the question today: we've done weird crushes, we've done stupidest thing you've ever done. Now today is just who is your celebrity crush? Who's your normal crush?
Okay, normal.
Because Cherry, when we asked people their weird crush, they misunderstood the assignment and they just gave us like hot guys with 6-packs and Jamie's dad who is fucking fit. Do you know what I mean? And we're like, these are not weird. These are normal.
Yeah.
I have a weird one for you to add to yours. I have a weird one. So I don't know why, but do you know who Bill Nighy is?
Yeah.
So I think he is really attractive. I don't know why, because he's obviously a very old man now. But I don't know. It's just, and everyone goes, "What?" when I say that. He's just, I don't know what it is about him. But if you ever listen to him talking, he's great.
I love him.
Posh, right?
Yeah. It's really.
So do you
posh.
like that? Is that what you like?
No, but like it's just him. I just find him very attractive. But when I saw pictures of him as a younger guy, not attractive. But as an older man, I think he's like in his 70s.
Some people some people look better. Some people look better as they.
And my sister loves the older gentleman.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I just like people who got their shit together. And who
they usually have their shit together. That's true.
And with men, it can take them up to 70.
I don't have time to train people.
That's right. Yeah, they're already pre-trained. I like it.
So, okay. So, today, we've got a lengthy list, so I'm glad you gave us enough time, Dee. Okay,
right,
people were very enthusiastic about this question. Okay, and there were some like recurring themes. So Abby is our first contributor. Abby, funny story, is my kid's former head of their school.
I love this.
No, I always kept the podcast on the down low at the school gates for obvious reasons, but she's no longer their head. And Abby is a friend of the show. And her contribution was Chris Hemsworth. And it's funny, when I texted her to ask, I didn't even have to explain why. Why I'm asking this. Okay, so Chris Hemsworth. I don't know the difference between the Hemsworth brothers. I know there's two. I know one's blonde, one has brown hair. Don't know what. One was Thor.
Yeah, wasn't one like Miley Cyrus. That's about all I know. Yeah.
So which one's Chris?
Fuck no.
I think Chris is not the Miley Cyrus husband. Okay. Chris is the Thor, I think.
Okay, so Thor. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, so he comes up again. Then our other friend podcasters, like Mother Like Murder, love them, Rachel and Heather.
Yeah.
So they said Chris Hemsworth as well.
Oh, okay.
Then there was a late entry. They also said Mila Kunis. Good shout.
Yeah.
And
I would. Fucking hot.
She's beautiful. She is beautiful.
Then, interestingly, my bestest friend, Lynn, love of my life, she said Idris Elba. Then I texted her daughter, who also said Idris Elba.
Idris Elba as well. Yeah, I can see that. He's sexy and Luther.
Of course.
I
like
would
him.
also.
Yeah.
And so manly. Then Karen, our dear supporter Karen, friend of the show Karen, she mentioned when we asked about weird crushes a few weeks ago, she mentioned Clint Eastwood. I said, that's not a weird crush, so we're going to save that week. Do you think that's a weird one or not a weird one?
I've got an absolute phobia of him. I just can't.
I have the same thing with Al Pacino.
I just can't look at pictures of him. It just
we need to
creeps
talk
my
about
skin.
this.
Just can't do it. Can't do it. Ever since I was a kid, I don't know why. I don't know whether he did something on the TV when I was a child and just traumatized me. But even as an adult, if he's on the television, I have to quickly turn it over quick.
So interesting. I wonder what you saw that like freaked you out.
God knows.
Yeah, whenever we got phobias, there's always like that moment that started that we may not remember, huh? Yeah. I want to know. We need to get you in therapy or hypnosis to find out why. So then I need to ask you about Al Pacino, but we don't have much time. So Sam, our dear friend Sam, friend of the show.
Friend of the Sam. You know Sam, he's the amazing artist.
Oh, I love Sam. Sam Gatton. Yeah, I love him.
I love him. He said Jodie Comer, great choice.
Yeah,
good
also
choice.
would. She's amazing.
She's a great actress.
Maybe I need to move over to women.
Less risky. So then our dearest friend of the show, Lucy B, Keanu Reeves, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, old school.
Yeah. Then, you think old school? Old school? Yeah, I forgot about Matthew McConaughey. Can't even say his name. McConaughey. Okay, so then Mary, another friend of the show, she understood the assignment and she sent me a list. She said this. Oh, bloody hell. I have a whole Pinterest board called Little Obsessions. And then she said, from back in the day, Nuno Betancourt from Extreme, Noel Fielding from the Mighty Boosh. That's a fucking weird one, Mary. You should have told us that one. Should have told us that one a few weeks ago. I don't get that. I know that some people's crush. It's a weird one. Shannon Hoon from Blind Melon, Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah. Then she said most recent Marcus Offbeat from Hang Massive. Don't know them. And she said in brackets because of his looks.
Oh,
I mean that is what we're basing this.
Yeah, we're being superficial here.
Yeah, Dave Grohl in brackets attitude to life.
I see a theme with her. Yeah, I see a theme with her of these men.
Yeah. Moody musicians.
Yeah. She said, I did like Jason Momoa until the ridiculousness of his part in the Amber Heard court case, and that put me right off him. Then I love that Mary gave me proper answers. I used to work with Mary when we were teachers, and that was like a proper fucking assignment. She did that well. So then one of my best friends, Jamie, one of my oldest friends, she said Tim Armstrong from Rancid, but she said 20 years ago. Okay. Then she said Jared
we can
Leto.
time travel now, can we? Yeah.
She said Jared Leto as Jordan Catalano.
Jared Leto as Jordan Catalano.
Yeah. I mean, she picked some good ones.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what was interesting. When I was having these conversations with people, a lot said, I don't have one now, but I had one from back in the day. And that made me think, do we, as middle-aged people, not think about these things anymore? And do we still, only
I
have
think-
our crushes, because a lot of people
I
said,
think
"Oh,
when
back
you're
in the day."
like our age, you think, oh, well, that guy's hot, I would. But back in the
Yeah.
day, like I remember fantasizing about how one day I was going to meet Jordan Catalano. He's going to fall in love with me.
I love this.
Oh,
Right?
Jamie also added that Taylor Hanson was one of hers, and she went to see them on Live Kicking, but she ended up wearing the same outfit as him and felt like a dick. Okay, so then one of our friends is a podcaster, and who we've become friends with through being podcasters, Brianna from Dark Adaptation Podcast. She said, Deanna, you'll approve of this one, Trent Reznor.
Oh, yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, Trent, he's
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
special
yeah,
place
yeah.
in our hearts.
Do I need to- I
Deanna
need to
said,
Google- Carry on. I'm going to Google him because I don't know who that is.
"Oh,
From 9 Inch Nails. But Google him 20 years ago, not now. Because he's
Okay.
like 80 now. Although you might
Okay.
like that.
Then
Okay.
Deanna said, Deanna's contribution was, one of the artists on I'm afraid I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but Deanna's responsible for editing this podcast now, so I can probably say whatever the fuck I want. But they've been sliding in each other's DMs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Edit out what you need, do you?
Yeah, I'll figure it out later.
So that brings us to the end of the list. But today we had a really healthy number of contributions. So do you want to hear
Yeah.
mine?
Go.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, so obviously, like back in the day, back in the 90s, everyone has their crushes back then, and it was obviously Kurt Cobain, Johnny Depp, all of those. Although Johnny Depp, I don't think he's aged gracefully at
No.
all. And,
No.
you know, oh yeah, and my husband, I remember when it was the court case going on, he said, last year, he said, oh, you still would, wouldn't you? I was like, no, too much trouble. And then and then now we have this ongoing joke that I'm like, do you know who's no trouble? And then I'll tell him who's no trouble. So the people on my no trouble list, Bruce Willis. You know,
I love Bruce Willis.
An older guy, got their shit
Yeah.
together, good family
Yeah.
Not
values.
anymore. He's got dementia
Yes.
now.
I know,
Is
it's
it
really
dementia?
sad.
Yeah,
It's really sad.
sad.
And
Oh,
Um,
but love him.
Yeah, me too.
The other thing is, like, I'm a feminist, as I believe that all people should be, not just women, but I also don't have life skills. So, like, I'm really good at working, fucking good work ethic. I'm a workaholic now that I'm self-employed. I'm really good at looking after my kids, but I've got no other fucking life skills. I can't cook, I can't clean, I can't organize my shit, I can't deal with my mail, I set fire to my documents, I can't. So, like, what I look for in my husband, and which is what I have found, is someone who's going to literally do everything for me. He cooks, he cleans, he does grocery shopping, like,
Amazing.
he tucks my chair in and stuff like that. So,
Aw.
like, when I think about
She called him. She's upstairs. She will bellow down the stairs
yeah,
for him to come up to tuck her chair in.
yeah, but the
And
reason
he
I did
will
that,
come running.
yeah, but the reason
No
no,
way.
don't tell me come running, D. He's grumpy. He's like Jack D. He won't come willingly. He won't fucking come willingly. He'll come fucking grumble about it. Like, oh, Victor Meldrew, that's who he's like.
Yeah.
My
He'll
husband
come
would
grumble
not even come up the stairs. He would tell me where to go if I did that.
out of it, he'll do it out of sense of duty. But in all fairness, look at this chair. It doesn't have wheels on it. It's heavy. I'm heavy, and I'm sitting in the chair. How am I going to tuck this shit with no wheels on it? You know, who's going to?
Oh, that is
So-
brilliant.
So basically, like, when I think about what
Relationship
criteria-
goals, right, Terry?
Yeah, 100%. I love it.
then so when I think about my criteria, like, I'm thinking, honestly, I love, you know who I've absolutely fallen absolutely head over heels for? It's our detectives. Steve Gaskin, lovely family man, good
Yeah.
morals, good values. Colin Sutton, I mean, we've literally, like, just, we love that guy. We've said it every episode. Stephen Keogh, our latest discovery.
He's
Love
lovely.
that guy.
Steven's a lovely
Adorable.
guy. Yeah.
Adorable. All of them lovely family men.
Yeah.
Hunky too. And Liam Neeson. He's no
Yes.
trouble. He's no
Yes.
trouble. You
Good
want someone
family
And
to
he
be
man.
has
able to take
special
care of shit.
skills.
Yes,
Special
Yes, he
skills.
does.
So, like, when I think about who is, like, gonna do shit for me, by the way, I'm all about paying my own bills and 50% of all the household bills. I just need people to, like, do stuff for me. you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, so my list, sorry, is long, but it's just like people who are just nice, gentlemanly, got this shit together,
Yeah.
honest, decent. So, like, Bruce Willis, Liam Neeson, all of our detectives. Who else is good? Denzel Washington. He's been with his wife a long time.
Yeah. He
Who
looks
else
like
is
a
good?
really nice guy.
Yeah. So that's my list.
Yeah.
What
That's
about
I
you,
like it.
Cherry? Who's your non-weird crush?
I don't know. Well, I guess, but just purely based on looks, this one
Tom
would
Hardy?
be. Well, yeah. See, Tom Hardy's a weird one because I never used to like him to start with, and then I saw him as Reggie Cray, and when he played Reggie Cray, that boom. And my husband was like, if you walk past him in the street, you wouldn't even look twice at him. I was like, I would.
You know what? I
so
bumped
would.
into him at the London Wetland Centre when I was there with the kids. But he's
How
posh
have you
and
not told me
pretty.
that?
I thought I did.
Oh,
He
have
lives
you
in
guys?
Barnes or Sheen.
Have
He's
you
from
guys?
Sheen. He's from Sheen. So like,
Have you
it's
guys
local.
seen Taboo?
No.
No.
Because in that one, he's just
Oh
moody
yeah, is that where he's miserable and he's like with the
and
top
just
hat?
grunts.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
grunts.
But he's
Yeah,
still
that one.
hot.
Yeah.
Still hot.
Oh no, that's the hottest where he's not even talking. He's just
Yeah.
making
For
sounds.
me, it's
Yeah.
that I know he's a posh boy from Sheen, which is just down the road. No, I
Yeah.
can't do. I don't like posh.
No, I'm the same. But they're saying that. I think Henry Cavill is very, very good looking.
Beautiful man.
But I love him as Sherlock Holmes in the old style.
Oh, yes,
The old
yeah.
style. It's like the only Sherlock Holmes that's hot.
I first fancied him when he was in Tudors.
Oh
He
yeah.
was like, I can't remember, one of the dukes or whatever, but
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, he looked hot there. I'm
Yeah.
not a huge fan of him as Superman because me and my sister,
No.
we don't really like the sort of too clean American.
No, I
thing,
agree.
you know?
Yeah.
Just a bit boring.
I only like him I just think he looks hot as Sherlock in the old style clothes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I don't think there's anyone really. There's not anyone really that I think, oh yes, not anymore.
Cherry, imagine that we just abandon true crime and this is now what we do.
I love it. It's so much fun.
Right?
It's like looser women. It's brilliant.
Yes. No research. Don't have to do any research. We just think of a topic and we
Just
shoot
speak
shit
with
for
our
an hour.
vaginas and speak with
Yeah.
our mouths. Yeah.
And you know that every woman listening to podcasts is going to be sitting there going, yep, 100%.
And you know what? I don't know about your stats, but almost all of our listeners are women.
Women, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, let's strongly reconsider this reverse and pivot.
I think it'll be fun. I think it's a great idea, especially if we did it like on a Saturday night with wine. It would be very, very good.
My sister loves when I turn up drunk to our recording
Deanna's
sessions.
the best drunk. Yeah, it
much
brings out her
fun.
best self. Her best
I
self.
love it. We need
I
to
am a good
reschedule
drunk.
another one then. We need to reschedule a drunk podcasters evening.
Oh.
Totally. Oh,
It'll be
you should.
so much fun.
Why don't you come round and do Drunk Real Housewives with me one day?
That would be so much fun. I should so do that. That would be great.
It's amazing. I'll
Cherry.
fill you in on everything that's happened.
The
But
people's
Cherry-
pulse. The people's pulse does make you reconsider.
Life.
Just talk shit instead of the miserable stories.
So much more fun.
Yeah.
So much more fun.
And now we would play the closing jingle. I don't know what the names are for these.
Oh no,
things,
but who is yours?
Mine?
Yeah, who is your like celebrity crush other than
Oh, she
Colin?
already told us. Remember, Jerry, the bit she's gonna edit out.
Oh yeah,
Is that the only one?
Oh, Deanna has a long list. Deanna, you don't need to do
Tom
the people
Hardy.
The people that you fancy.
I do like Jason Momoa. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
your partners and your ideal man. There's a big discrepancy, and we need to bring that closer together.
Yeah. Really do.
Yeah, make it a bit more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa, huh?
Yeah.
I like him, but just not when he talks. I liked him as Drogo in I liked him when he was in Game of Thrones, when he was just stood there looking mean.
I just saw him in the Fast and Furious the other day.
One of my best relationships was with someone who barely spoke English.
Yeah.
It was only 3 months, but it was really
Probably
good.
The chef.
I can see why.
Yeah, he was
I
a
can see
chef
why.
who didn't speak English. Perfect.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Right? Okay, well, Cherry, we gotta let you go.
We gotta release you. We gotta release you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have
Thanks
to do
for
this
having
again.
me.
This was
It
fun,
went
huh?
so fun. It was. It went really quick. It was so
Let's
much
shoot
fun.
the shit again.
Definitely, 100%. Thank you so much for having me on your
Oh,
show. It's
Charity,
been
we love
great.
you.
I've
You are true crime royalty. You really are.
No.
You are.
And next time,
You are a queen. The queen of true crime.
Oh,
You know, I
bless
didn't
you.
know you were coming. Otherwise, I would, like I said, I would have backcombed my hair a little bit.
You look gorgeous. You look lovely. Thank
Oh,
you so
Terry, we
much,
love
girls.
you so much. Thank
I love
you.
you too. Thank you. No, it's been lovely. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there. Thanks for being a loyal listener.
Do you need a new website or want to boost your social media performance? Or do you hate podcast editing? You've tried optimizing your website and social media channels, but you're still not getting the listeners, downloads, and engagement you want?
We, the Switchblade Sisters, love helping people with tasks that they hate. We know a thing or two about podcasts, websites, and social media, and we love working with other podcasters and business owners.
So why not head over to switchbladesisterssocialclub.com and go to our Work With Us section. We believe in collaboration over competition. A rising tide raises all ships.
Bye!